Do you mind if we record the session, Mark?
No, not at all.
Perfect.
So today, has it been a day-long seminar?
So it goes on from 11 to 4 every day Eastern
Ah,
and
okay.
speaker every hour. And so you're our live speaker. We save the best for last.
Ah, right.
You got to knock it out of the park.
Oh, yeah, no pressure.
All right, let me go ahead and click record and then we will get started. I have an introduction for you. I'll do the introduction and then we'll kick it off from there.
Okay.
All right, I got my introduction ready. We'll get it started. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. It's my privilege to introduce Mark Green, retired Navy SEAL, best-selling author, and a tireless advocate for special operations veterans. Since transitioning from the military, Mark has dedicated himself to guiding high performers, whether at USC or within the SEAL community, through successful civilian careers. He's the author of Unsealed, a Navy SEAL's Guide to Mastering Life's Transitions, and he lives by the motto, fight on and long live the brotherhood. Mark, when I kind of was snooping on your LinkedIn, I was kind of like, hey, I need to know who he is, what it is. I love, I love that, like after a year or after a service of like you're, serving the country, and then you say, you know what, I want to continue serving veterans, and you're doing it that way, by helping them in the transition. We're all in that phase right now. Can you talk us through, like, from your perspective, like, one, what led you to be a Navy SEAL? And then two, like, how was that transition? And what were some of those things that challenged you, even though you had been challenged your whole career as a Navy SEAL? Like, what were those challenges? Were expected or unexpected?
Okay, so I was a college athlete, and the way I got turned on to be a SEAL is I was quarterback at Miami of Ohio and Kent State. Sustained a career-ending injury to my shoulder, and then all of a sudden, instead of going to I had continue my aspirations in the NFL. I didn't have a plan, and a buddy of mine named Jeff Turner showed me this video, and he said, "Dude, don't worry about football. We're going to go be Navy SEALs after we're out of college." And I was like, I didn't even know what a SEAL is. And this is back in 91 or 92, 1991. So there wasn't YouTube, there wasn't the internet really, and there was no information out there. But he pulled out this video called what is it? Be Someone Special. And from that moment on, I was absolutely hooked on becoming a SEAL. And life happened, and as I continued to go to school, I didn't really have a purpose, and flunked out of school, and then was working at Blockbuster Video one day, and then just a series of events happened. A guy from high school came in, and we locked eyes, and he could I could tell that he was shocked and kind of disappointed that I'm working at Blockbuster Video when I had all these aspirations to do other things. And talented enough to do other things. And after that, he asked me what I was doing working at Blockbuster, and I didn't have a good answer for him. So with that, I just joined the Navy the next day. And because I was 24, and if I didn't jump on this thing right now, I was going to run out of time, and I was going to come up with all kinds of excuses to not do the hardest thing I've ever done. So I just went in and joined the Navy, and passed my test. Second time, I had to fail it the first time to kind of understand what it was I was getting myself into. And then passed it the second time, got orders to the Naval Special Warfare Center out in San Diego, and classed up with class 212. Well, that started off with 868 of us, and 18 of us ended up graduating, which for the Navy, that was great. They were just like, look, it's not about how many people we get through. We just need to get the right person through. And the requirements are so rigorous because the job is so rigorous, and it's a no-fail mission, and you are behind enemy lines doing all kinds of things you didn't expect on the battlefield. And because you have that selection process under your belt, and then you've earned the right to be a SEAL, that comes with a lot of responsibility and a lot of advanced training. And then I got lucky and became a sniper, and was a sniper for about 16 of my 20 years. And then I got to become a sniper instructor, which was probably the best billet that I've had, just because you take students from zero to becoming some of the best shooters in the military. And the best thing that would ever happen to me is when my students would fire me. And by saying that, they would show up as, novices and not really understanding what being a sniper was. And then after about halfway through the course, about a 10-week course, about the fifth week, they start to kind of understand exactly what they're doing. And as an instructor, you're with your student the entire time. And when they fire you and they say, "Hey, Mark, I got it. You've taught me everything I need. You can teach me. Now I just have to go out and figure this thing out on my own." That was the best day because you're succeeding as an instructor, and that was incredibly rewarding. And I think that was the best experience I had as a SEAL, not doing combat operations downrange. And however, when I retired from the Navy, it was I instantly I went from, hey, Mark Green, Navy SEAL on Friday, to just Mark Green who doesn't really know what his identity is anymore. And the only thing I was shooting from that point was emails, you know, and it was just that loss of identity, the loss of tribe, the loss of your mission. And I was just unprepared for doing things on my own because my do-it-yourself muscles had atrophied because I'd been doing things either as a sniper pair or the part of a platoon for 2 decades. And then all of a sudden, I'm thrown back out into the real world and I don't speak the language anymore. The culture's different. I was kind of frozen. And when you serve, you're just kind of frozen in that bubble for the time you're in the military. It could be 4 years or 30, and then all of a sudden you're back into the real world and you don't really know how to, one, convey what your attributes are to the civilian world. It's like, hey, I was a sniper for 20 years, but I can't go to Dominion Energy and say, hey, I was a sniper. And one, they probably wouldn't know what that was. And two, it's kind of probably pretty scary. It's like, hey, what what's going to set this guy off to where he's going to revert back to what he was doing for so long. However, the attributes to be a sniper are translate right away. It's like you're goal driven, you're independent, you're a free thinker, and you work well as a team, and you are prepared to do whatever it takes to get your job or your mission done. That translates directly to the civilian world. So it's learning the language again and just figuring out how you fit back in because you have those skills to integrate back in. It's just you don't know what you don't know anymore, and unless you ask for help, you're really not going to get it because the pace of um, I guess corporate America or the civilian world is a lot faster, and they don't really have time to teach you in a way that you learn per se, or just integrating yourself back into the culture while simultaneously leaving your previous culture and friendships and expertise all behind just to integrate back in. And so I hope that answer. Did I answer
Oh yeah,
those
yeah.
questions? Okay.
And I want to like ask you because we can kind of understand that where we're all at different points. We're all getting out of the military, right? Some
Right.
serve me, some serve six, whatever that is. But the transition kind of hits you right in the face where I feel like in the military, and I think a lot of people could agree, is that there's not a lot of time for reflection because you're always go, 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 whatever you do. I don't care what
Hmm.
comm guy, I don't care if you're an operation guy. It's always go, go, go. And then all of a sudden your career ends and you're like, oh, I'm getting out. They're telling you have to get out. And you're now at the point you're like, okay, well, what did I just go through? Because it seems
Hmm.
so fast. After 21 years for me, I felt like I had a lot of time to reflect on that, right? And I think one of my mentors had told me, like, just reflect on the good times, right? Reflect on everything you learned. Reflect on, where have you gotten to this point, right? Because you've achieved a lot. Just trust me, you have. Now take that and use that into this next step, which is probably the biggest transformation of your life, which is going to be transitioning to civilian life. And for you, what was that kind of like got you to realize that? Was it a mentor, friends? Did you reach out to someone and say, I need some help with this? Something I've never done, right?
Yeah, so two things. One time, I was going through the Honor Foundation through it was affiliated with the Navy SEAL Foundation, and one of the CEO came in, and before the course started, the first thing he said is like, "Look, you are never going to be able to recreate the Navy SEAL locker room ever. Don't even try. It's a completely unique organization, and if you're going to chase that locker room again, you're just never going to find it." And once I realized that, I was like, okay, if I'm so don't chase the locker room anymore. And um, when I got out, I just had this series of events and people who were just stepped up and said, "Hey, you're my guy." And one example of that is we were at a fundraiser in New York, and I got there early, and I was one of the only people there. And then I met this gentleman who had said, "Hey, I've never met a SEAL before," and we start talking, and he said, "You should meet Bill." And was like, "Okay, I'll meet Bill." So Bill said, "Hey," went through my resume, and he's like, "You were enlisted and you became an officer and you got your MBA, and you were a SEAL for these 20 years. How do you feel about retiring?" And because I wasn't prepared for the question, I just blurted out that I was terrified. And the shock on his face was like, "How is that possible?" And I just said, "I don't even know what I'm good at anymore. And I'm 6 months from retire. It's the freight train's coming, and I will retire in 6 months." And he gave me his business card and said, "Look, here's my business card. I want to fly you out to Los Angeles, meet with my staff. We're going to go over your resume. We're going to make sure that you're taken care of as you start your next chapter." And the first thing that hit me was a little bit of anger and confusion, because I was like, "You don't even know me, and you're offering all this stuff." And I'd never had somebody with that leverage just reach out and say, "Hey, I want to help just because I want to support you, and um, you not thriving with all your skills is unacceptable." So I was applying for the FBI, and that takes forever. And I kept looking at his card. And by the time I looked at his card and called, the card looked like it was the side of a billboard and it just had his name on it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to give this guy a call. And I said, "Hey, Bill, I'm going to come on out." So he hung up the phone, got everything arranged. And I literally flew out to LA and met him and his staff for a week. And he he said, "Mark, I would be doing you a disservice to put you behind a desk and have you reading TPS reports for the next 10 years." He's like, "But if you want a job, you have it." But then he said, "I'm going to USC to meet with the dean of the business school. Do you want to come?" Oh, yeah, I want to go. So it's graduation week, and it's chaotic, and kids are crashing all over the place on bikes and skateboards. And I get out of the car and I said, he didn't say a word and I didn't say a word. And I was like, "God, Bill, this would be such a great place to work." Yeah, he didn't say anything after that. And we went on our tour and it was great. And I flew home the next day. And 2 weeks later, he called and said, "Hey, I got you 4 interviews at USC." And I said, "What am I interviewing for?" He's like, don't worry about it. Just don't suck." And he hung up the phone. And and turns out that Bill was not only of a trustee at USC, but he's a billionaire. And I have him on speed dial. And that one interaction opened up an entire world that I wasn't even prepared for. I didn't even know it was out there. So I took the job at USC, and it was by far the best job I've ever had for the 4 years I was able to stay out there. And it was because I instantly had a new tribe. USC is a cult, and we all get it. And they immediately accepted me, and they're like, "Look, we are happy to have you here, and we're here to help." And because I was at a university, they had a lot of programs that helped PTS and traumatic brain injuries and all the invisible injuries that started to manifest after I retired, that I could get all those services at work. So I had a great place to work. I had a new tribe, and then I was insulated again at a university, but everything I needed to thrive was right on that campus. And once I figured it out and settled in, I ended up thriving for the 4 years that I was there. It was great.
That's awesome. It's almost like, I give credit to obviously the person that helped you and like was able to like see you at that state. But I feel like I give a little bit more credit to the person that's able to say I'm terrified.
Mm,
Because I guess he didn't expect that answer because he's coming from a Navy SEAL, but I don't expect that answer from like anybody from the military when I go, you know, I would be like, wow, really? And you would take back because then you want to lend a hand there, right? It's an automatic like, I don't want you to be terrified. This is supposed to be like the glory moment, right? Like you've done it. Not a lot of people get to make it to 20 years or,
yeah.
successful career in the military. And for you to have the humbleness, and we talk about that, right? Like the military, like bravado of like, we're tough, we do this, we're warriors. And then you're like the humble enough to say, hey, I'm terrified. Like I right
Hmm.
now, at this moment you're asking me, I tell people all the time, like, how many times people ask me as you're going through your transition, like, how do you feel? What is it like? And you almost sometimes get annoyed by the question, but in reality, it's like, it's for that one person that asked you in that one moment to go, for you to be that person that you're like, I'm terrified.
Hmm.
I didn't want to admit it, but you made me admit it, right? And it's that moment. But it got you on a trajectory that was like, to me, it's the right spot you needed at the time, right? Like the right opportunity, right spot to go, hey, this will be the best transition for you. As emotional as transition can be. Did you take it personal at all? I got like leaving the military. Like,
I didn't, because once that one statement about not being able to recreate the locker room was key. But then I realized that, and this was the hard part, that when I still live in Virginia and the SEALs are all over the place, and you run into your former teammates, and I realized that because they're still in the churn of work up, deploy, um, it was I was tolerated but not welcome anymore, if that makes sense. Like, hey, Mark, it's great to see you. Let's go have a beer and catch up. They have about 2 hours, and then they're still in it. They're still getting ready to deploy. So once I realized that they're still in it and it's not personal, that they can't that I can't still be in that group anymore as active duty. Once I came to the realization of that, I was like, okay, this isn't personal. They're just still doing it. And if I ran into somebody from high school or who I play football with, and they came up to me, I was like, I have a couple of hours, but I got shit to do, and I got to go to Arkansas for land warfare for a month, and come back for a week, and then I go down to Florida for dive school for 2 weeks or a month, and come back to go to shooting school in Mississippi. So they're still in it, and it's not personal. It's just they're busy, and that's when I came to the realization, one, it wasn't personal, but number two, I think it helped because I was already I had a job, and it was a job that I loved, and I was getting the help that I needed. So I wasn't as reliant on the community or the military as I would have been had I not immediately found the right job. Um, if I was sitting around waiting for the FBI and forced to work as a barista or whatever, I'm sure it would have hit a lot different, and I would have probably taken a lot more personally. Um, but the military still has a mission, and unfortunately, you're not part of that mission anymore. And a buddy of mine said, as you're leaving the compound, take a picture in your rearview mirror because you're never coming back.
that's huge. I'm glad there's people out there that have that. And I've had the same mentors, like that worked with me in the last like 6 months of like just, hey man, it's all right. It's over. Like like even if you came back, like you get to go work, carry a pack because I'm a SEER instructor by trade,
Hmm.
Air Force. And I'm like, that's what I want to do. And they're like, it's done, right? We got young guys that are doing it. and trust me, like just have it as a memory. Every now and then you look at a picture and you go, man, I remember those days. Those were awesome.
Yeah.
And then just
Yeah.
kick ass somewhere else, sorry to cuss, but it's just kind of move those as good memories and just kind of move on. I love, I remember resonating with everything you're saying, which is awesome. Before we get on to like after USC and how we transition to Dominion and stuff, Daniel has a question. Go ahead, Daniel.
Is
Yeah.
Daniel on mute?
Yeah, I might be muted. Can you hear
Oh,
me?
no, you're
Okay.
good. You're good now.
Okay, I can't ever figure out this microphone thing, so I don't think telework is in my future at all. So I'll never be able to communicate with anybody. But hey, so first of all, just thank you so much for being here with us today. And when you talk about Blockbuster, I know there's a lot of people that don't even know what that is anymore, you know.
Oh,
So
that's right. That's right. Yep.
so yeah, my brother worked there for a little bit too as I was going through college and things like that. Um, but I was a Taco Bell guy before the Air Force,
Ah,
you know.
nice.
So
Okay. Yokio
but
Taco Bell, right?
oh, I still go to it every day, you know. I swear I made the best tacos. Um, but you're saying so much that has really been resonating with me lately. And I'll kind of just lead it off with like just purpose behind the delay, you know. And for you and for me, um, sometimes it's like we don't necessarily know what's next, and some people aren't calling us back, or some
Hmm.
things aren't working as fast, or we're not seeing ourselves in the places that we want to be. And sometimes we get checked, by making eye contact with somebody when we're standing behind a counter. Um, but I truly believe that there is a purpose, and things will align, naturally, depending on our foundation. And this is where that's kind of going back to. And the question is like, what truly is like your foundation, and how do you allow that foundation to really speak to your identity?
This is the biggest foundation is I was able to maintain connections um, that really kept me anchored. I really call them anchor points. I had, unfortunately, I went through a divorce, but I had this new, and when I say this new tribe, it was when I was in boot camp at Buds, at OCS, um, Naval Postgraduate School. It was really all about connecting with people, and because you never know who you're talking to, for one, and you just never know what your needs are going to be in the future. So and it's natural, I just gravitate towards connecting with people, and that was the biggest foundation that I had. But also, I was never afraid to ask for help, or if somebody asked me how I'm doing, I'm like, and I'm just honest with them, like I was with Mr. McMorrow. I would have been as honest. I would have just kind of given the seal answer of like, "No, sir, I'm good." Um, but looking back, I was always um, not humble enough, but I was always aware enough that I'm not the smartest guy in the room, and people have information that could help me out. And an example of that was we were in Buds, and there's this instructor who was just having an aneurysm on the students, full blown meltdown. And we're getting ready to start our 2 mile swims, and I was not ready to do my 2 mile swims. So in the middle of his rage, I said, "Hey, instructor, I need some help on swimming, man. I'm just not figuring it out." And he just broke character and it's like, "Hey, let's come in on Saturday mornings and we'll get you all fixed up." And I was like, "Okay." And from that moment on, I was like, "Okay, look, people in your life are in your life for a reason, and the people who I have in my life, if they need something, I'm so happy to help in any way." And what I realize is that people who are in your life who care about you, they want to help in any way they can. And sometimes that help is vast, or sometimes that help is limited, as like they call you every week, and that could just be the thing that gets you over the edge that one day. And those connections are valuable, and I maintain those all the time. But the secret that not many people know about me is I guarded my inner child relentlessly. I I was always on the verge of laughter about something, and I could just see the silver lining and everything. Even though buds sucked, it was after cutting through all the chafe and minutia of it all. I was really just working out on the beach in San Diego with my boys. What's not to like about that, you know? And I just that was just really just my outlook on life, and I was able to maintain that. So um, I'm not sure, Daniel, did that answer your question?
No, no, absolutely. 100%. You answered it a couple of different ways, you know, one with the self-awareness piece, and really kind of having that. And then two, you know, what I was gathering was humility, you know, to
Hmm.
ask, especially in a culture sometimes where that can be looked at as a weakness and not a strength. And we see how important that is when we actually ask those questions, and it leads to, you know, that's how we truly connect. So if we're not asking questions for others, you know, to open up and see their needs, we can miss a whole lot of, you know, information or what type of, you know, place we can be in someone else's life. So
Yeah,
absolutely.
and one other thing that's I didn't realize this until a dear friend of mine pointed it out is like you have so much gratitude for everything you're doing. And that was true. And he's a neuroscientist. He's my friend at USC. And he was like, every one of the strongest pillars and foundations that people who are successful have is they're really grateful for a lot of things. And he had pointed out, he's like, you're probably one of the most grateful people I've ever met. And it was true. I mean, from getting the job or getting the opportunity to do all the things I was able to do, I'm hugely grateful for everything.
No, absolutely. And then just the last part, even when you said, you know, guarding your inner child.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most important because to me, raising daughters, a lot of times, you know, I can come off and I can put that fear on them. You know, hey, don't climb the counter because I don't want them to fall. But I still
Hmm.
want them to be curious. You know, hey, don't bake those cookies 'cause I don't want you to burn the house down. But all I'm doing is basically unloading my fear, and I'm really just taking back their life experience and how they're really going to truly learn. So 100%, you're right on, you know, with everything that you've said, and it resonates. And I definitely appreciate your time today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the question.
Great question, Daniel.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, so like all that being said, you have everything, you're kind of learning and you're always kind of trying to be a better version of yourself, right? Like it's never like a ending process and but you have to know yourself, right? Like and it seems like you get to know yourself. Like I feel like in the military, and I think a lot of people can understand that is like it's a transformation. Just like when you're growing up, your mother and father got to see you transform into the person you are now, and
Hmm.
see you through a military career, and then you learn from that because you get kids yourself and you start seeing that. Transformation is just it's an ongoing process. You just got to think of that. There's no end to like being better, right? But I want to go back to USC. Go ahead. Sorry if you had something.
No, no, no. I was just agreeing with
Yeah.
everything you were saying.
Yeah. So you're at USC, you found your new tribe, you're fitting in, everything's great. What was next from there? What kind of like arised and said, "Hey, I feel like my next step is this." What was it?
It was kind of forced on me. So I knew that like my family was here and unfortunately went through a divorce and the USC was only a placeholder. I was gonna be out there for 6 months and then life happened and I still needed to put food on the table. But I always knew that I was there temporarily. So what I did was, and I went through a really rough patch. Even though I was in a very nurturing environment, I still suffered greatly with my transition. Um, but as I was going through the divorce, and I was not good at any one thing yet. I didn't feel like I was being a good parent because my kids are in Virginia, but I was in LA, and then um, I was learning a new career, so I wasn't great at my new career, and I couldn't learn new stuff because of my traumatic brain injuries. And then on top of that, what so many military people do, they pile on more stuff just to um, have some sense of normal. So instead of throttling back, I realized I was out there for a short time. I was like, well, I would love to be part of USC forever. So I went and got my second master's while I was there, and it just kind of opened up my eyes. And because I needed to come back to Virginia, I knew the value of the networking at USC. So even though it was a struggle to go through grad school again, um, that was the catalyst. Like, look, I'm not going to be able to live here forever. I need to go back and I need to thrive. And just having a network and looking for a job while you have a job really helped. But then I found my voice. I understood how the civilian world works again. I put myself in a position at USC to um, be valuable outside of the organization. The skill set I learned out there um, translated everywhere. And then I utilized um, my degrees because I got an MBA because the Navy forced it on me. I wasn't really wanting to. But then as I was thinking about it, I chose to get a master's in public policy because I realized things come down to two things: money and rules. And if you understand money on the business side, and then you understand the policy and rule side of it, then you make yourself so much more valuable to an employer because they're getting basically three employees in one. And if you need to talk business, you can. If they're making mistakes, then you can say, "Hey, policy says this, and here's what the third and fourth orders of magnitude of this decision. Here's what it's going to look like." And then Thomas Sowell said, "Equip yourself with skills that people are willing to pay for," and that's what I did. And when the opportunity came up for Dominion Energy, it was a perfect fit. Didn't coincide with anything I had my education in. And now I'm working in cyber security and intel. And I had the background for it, but the skill set was completely different. And then I realized that they're going to teach you how to do things the way they want it done. But because you have a strong resume, being a SEAL gets you a second interview just because people are interested. But when Bill said, "Hey, just don't suck in your interview," I took that to heart, and then I just realized I had a lot to offer. So when I got the job, I they got me on the cheap, but um, I could see where the skill set that I would gain from working here in this capacity would um, be so valuable. So that's what led to my journey of coming back to Virginia.
Yeah. Someone in the chat earlier said, man, it seems like that's a military thing where people say just don't suck. And I think it's like it's one of those things that everybody hears it at some point. And I think they say it because they know that you're going to succeed. But they
Hmm.
just say that so that it brings that like whatever it is in the back of your mind to be like, man, I'm not going to suck. I can't suck. I've never had that moment. Or maybe you've had that moment, you know what it feels like. And you're like, I never want to be there again. Right. And someone mentioned that. I said, yeah, like saying just don't suck. I've had plenty of NCOs in my career like, hey, just don't suck, especially when it comes with opportunity. Like, hey, what can I expect? Like, just don't suck. You'll be fine. And
Yeah.
and I'm like, you can't tell me anything about the training and I'm like, no, just don't suck. And I'm like, God damn. And it's like
Yeah.
they knew that those little words were just gonna go, yeah, he's gonna be fine. He or she's gonna be fine. Don't worry about it. So
Or either don't suck or just do your best.
yeah. No, I can see both. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So you're working at Dominion, you get a job, you said, hey, they got you on the cheap, that's fine. And you knew the value of that beyond because you're like, hey, I know what I'm worth and I'm only going to get better and be worth more and more.
Hmm.
In that time, where does the book come into play? Like, and then you working with the other company with like with transitions and stuff. What was it? What was that? Like, how did that come
I
up?
I randomly met some gentleman out in LA, one of the first people I met in LA. And he had a friend who came out and he and I connected, and he's passionate about telling stories. And they sat in on one of my speaking events at USC, and he said, "Mark, you really need to write a book. You have a very interesting story." But I was comparing myself to Goggins, who had a book, or Jocko, who's got a book, and other, Mark Owen, who had a book. And I was comparing myself to those guys, and I was like, I don't think my story is interesting enough to write a book about. So I blew him off for years, and then one day he called and said, "I'm sick of listening to you tell me no." So I have four ghostwriters, interview all four of them, pick one, and then go write your book. I'm going to foot the bill and just get your story out there. And the 10-year-old in me said, "Well, you're not the boss of me. I'm not going to write a book." But then I realized, like, well, this is an opportunity to get your story out there and just see how it resonates. So then I had to figure out what was I going to write about. And I'm really dear friends with Jack Carr, and I talked to him. I was like, Jack, I'm going to write a book, but I don't know what I'm going to write about. And I was like, can you give me some advice? And he said, when I was writing the terminal list, I had a theme, and the theme was revenge. And everything about that story and that character was around revenge. So find what your theme is going to be and have your entire book be around that theme, that it never strays away from that theme. And as I was putting chapters together, I really couldn't connect the dots. And then one day I woke up in the middle of the night, just like transitions. And then once I figured out what the theme was, I just wrote every story about that's in the book was about different transitions in life, from getting married to having a kid to losing a best friend in combat to near death experiences, losing my father. I mean, everything is a transition point. So once I had that theme, the book kind of wrote itself.
Man, that's huge. Transitions. Yeah, I was thinking about it when I read the title. I was all like, well, I guess he's going to talk. It's going to be like a, I didn't know it was going to be a life story. I thought it was going to be like more of like just the SEAL version, like deploying military. But it sounds like it's the whole life, right? Like if you look at it from a transit, like every part of your life is a transition from
Right.
graduating high school to going to college, or some of you guys went that route, to joining the military, to all that. Yeah, man. It's great that you put it into that transition, because we're always focused on, I obviously right now we're working on our transition out of the military,
Hmm.
but it's cool that there's someone out there that kind of looked at it as like, well, it's always transition. It's never just this is your only transition. Trust me, in 3 or 4 years, you might be doing something totally different, or there might be a big thing in your life that you're gonna have to transition from, or pivot out of. So that's cool that you have that. Yeah, someone just said they're buying the book right now. I'm gonna have to take a look.
Well, thank you.
Reading it, by the way, or do you read it? Do you narrate it all if it's an audiobook or someone else
So
narrating?
there is an audiobook, and because I wanted to give back, I go to the same coffee shop all the time, and I did not have the time to narrate the book. And a guy I talked to for years, and he just happened to be a voice actor. And he said he was looking for some work, and I was like, "Well, hey, Brandon, I don't have time to write a book. You have or to narrate a book, and you have the studio and stuff. Can I just hire you to do the book?" And the joy on that kid's face. Um, and then I got a chance to give back. So yes, it's available on Kindle, and because a lot of the feedback I had was, "Hey, I don't read good. This is the school for kids who don't read good." So the opportunity came up, and I got to help out a guy who was a struggling voice actor, and I was like, "Hey, man, I'd love for you to narrate the book." So um, we released, I think, in January or February. So it's available on. It's I think it says dollar for the um, ebook,
Okay.
and I think $19 for for the book, and then I'm not sure what the price is on the audiobook, but all three of them are available.
Nice. No, that's,
And
that's cool.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
an easy read. It's there's some seal stuff in there, but that was just one portion of my life and all the transitions I went through. So it's not a, hey, out here's how cool there I was on the top of a mountain, you know, shooting bad guys. It was, hey, this was my transition to become a SEAL, and here are some things that happened on that journey. But that's not the focus of the book. It's maybe two or three chapters are short chapters are related to my SEAL experience, but the rest is like um, the transition piece. Because on a micro level, I wanted it to be for the service member, but on a macro level, I realized that the entire family, up to the dog, goes through the transition. So on a macro level, I was hoping that a family member would read it and say, "Hey, mom or dad, you should read this chapter or read this book because you're clearly going through transitions. You may not be able to see it, but as the family is experiencing, they clearly see what you're going through, and that's who I hope to help. And then long term, because college athletes are having probably one of their toughest transitions for hundreds and thousands of hours they put towards their sport, they're going to be professional something else because so few make it to um, the pinnacle of those sports, and they're not prepared for that transition. So I also wanted to, because I want to work with athletes um, in the near future. It's also sent to them as well.
And I love that you said that, like, these high level athletes and then where they find themselves, whether it's in a good place or a bad place. But I'll share something that kind of resonates to that is, so I'm a SEER instructor and I was working at guys that finish basic training and they go through our initial course. It's just 3 weeks, it's an assessment. And we have one of the first things that we ask them to do is like, hey, I want you to speak for 2 to 3 minutes on who you are and have something that you want to focus on. And one of the guys that came up there, he's like, hey, my name is, I can't remember his first name, but his last name was Ware. And he said, I played free safety during the USC UT game. Vince Young,
Ah,
he goes, I was a starting free safety.
I
And
hate
like,
that guy.
usually I look down I'm looking down at my notes because I have to take notes as they're speaking. And I looked up and I'm like, oh my God, I got almost one of the highest level athletes you got here, and he wants to be a SEER specialist now. And he graduated. He's graduated, and he's doing really well. He's
Hmm.
still young in the career field, but man, to talk about like what you just said, like they're going to be a professional somewhere else, and like he's a professional SEER specialist, man, in my book. And it started with that little thing, of knowing who he was and his background. And he talks about that game, and he broke it down for us later. It was kind of cool to see it from his perspective that was on
Yeah,
the field, right? But I wanted to tell you that story because I think athletes do need that, right? As much as veterans do too, they need that kind of like coaching, guiding of like, hey, you're gonna knock it out of the park wherever you land. Trust me, it doesn't matter what it is. I don't care what you're gonna say. It's gonna happen for you.
yeah.
It's
And the one thing I wanted to highlight to athletes is like when you're an athlete on any campus, you're kind of a celebrity, and people who interact with you want some people want things from me, but a lot of people want to help. And I let them know, it's like, look, man, you, especially at USC, I was like, you are around so many influential people who the only thing they want to do is help you get to wherever you're going next. And they have the means and the ability to help you transition to whatever is going to be next. And because they're so immersed in their sport, they don't realize the environment that they're in. It's all football, but it's like everybody who walks up to you at some point wants to help. And if you don't take advantage of people who say, "Hey, Mark, you're going to be graduating. Is there anything I can do to help?" Just say yes, because that's what I did with Mr. McMorrow. I was like, "Look, yeah, I need your help, and please help me." And when I got on campus and I saw the kids struggling and they didn't take advantage of that atmosphere, I was like, "Look, you have 6 months until you graduate. Take advantage of the atmosphere in which you're in, because once you leave this bubble, the prospects and the connections that you're going to be able to make are vastly different than what you're experiencing now."
Yeah. Yeah, and you say that too, and it's like some of us have taken advantages of some of the positions they were in the military or the people you come across of, but in some cases you've met them through that time, especially during deployments and stuff,
Hmm.
or a short assignment you had or in a section, and you're like, man, I had the chance to like really connect with that person, and I kind of blew it,
Yeah.
And I see that now, especially on LinkedIn, when I linked up with, when I see them come across the feed of like, hey, this person has someone to, and I'm like, oh my God, I get another chance at like connecting with them because I didn't take advantage of the time and circumstance right then to do it then, right? To build that meaningful, like, hey, what's, let's stay in touch because we all say that, but
Hmm.
said, it's one of those, the people that really care are gonna, once a week are gonna either text you or call you, whatever it is, and give you the feedback that you need or deserve, right? So,
Yeah, yeah.
Richard, sorry, we got another question. Richard, go ahead, man.
No worries. Thank you. Mark, thank you for joining us today. This has been absolutely great. A lot like the one dude that reached out to you. I've never met a Navy SEAL in person. Still haven't
Yeah.
met one in person, but you're here now. So that's kind of close. Anyways, I was curious. I was looking through your LinkedIn profile. You had 9 months of experience as a self-employed personnel. I was curious what you did in that time and what lessons you might have learned from that, because it was
So,
another transition that you made. So,
so I really wanted to get into the public speaking space, and I was working on getting that public speaking and basically trying to build a model and a base where I could get clients and then um, tap into the industry that I wanted to get into, which was college athletics. And as I'm building it, um, I still needed to put food on the table. Um, and then all of a sudden, the Dominion Energy thing popped, and I had to put that on hold. But now, with the book happening, a lot of those opportunities reemerge. So now I'm also doing public speaking now, and the same guy who set me up with the book, he's trying to pitch the show to pitch it as a TV show, and it's in the works and it's moving through the Hollywood system. So um, I'm just using this platform as a way to set myself up to do what I'm really, really passionate about, which is really giving back and helping those who are transitioning successfully transition and thrive in their next endeavor.
you can just tell when you're talking, you're lighting up, you're very, very, you just love public speaking. Can you tell me about some of the experiences that you've had as a public speaker and what you've learned from those?
If anybody knows Michael Gervais, if you do in the chat, so I was at USC one time and Michael was talking to the class and somebody asked Michael's like, hey, how do special operators get in the mindset? He's like, funny you should ask. We have one right here. And I look around, I was like, oh man, there's another special operator in here. And he's like, Mark, go ahead and tell the class about your story as soon as we get back from break. And I was like, I'm not ready to do this. So I got up and told my story to the class. And then several months later, before Kobe passed, he was supposed to come and speak. And my friend Glenn said, hey, Mark, Kobe dropped on us. Can you come and speak to the class and tell them about resiliency and mental toughness and how you became a SEAL? So I walked over to the class and gave my story to the class. And as the end of the semester came about, Glenn asked the students, like, of all the people who came in, who would you like to come back? And 85% of the class said, we'd love to have Mark come back. And my first thing was like, why? I was terrible. But that started an annual speaking event circuit that I do at USC every year. And that really just I got the reps to be able to do a good job at it. And then when the book happened, I started to go on podcasts and got to refine my story, and opportunities like this come up. So I just say yes because I think once I get the reps and get my name out there, I think it's going to be a full-time endeavor, which I want to be able to knock it out of the park. So much of my life happened, all the good things in my life happened really by accident. And it's because my motto is just say yes. And I've done that, and the opportunities just keep coming. And it's not about um taking advantage of a system or whatever. It's just there's so many opportunities out there. And if you just say yes to them, then something's going to land, something great's going to happen. And it's worked for me so far, so I'm just going to keep saying yes to things.
Also, hey Richard, that was a great question. I'll tell you what, it speaks a lot to your character. Like the humbling experience for someone to tell you just like, hey, just get up in the class and tell someone about yourself. And we're so scared of that sometimes, but when you look back at it, it's a healthy way of reflection because you go, well, what do I want to tell them? What do you think what's the inspiring thing behind what I did that can resonate with them, right? You're trying to find that like whatever it is, and then you do it for the first time and you don't expect much of it. You just kind of like, well, we'll see what happens. And like you said, like sometimes just saying yes. An old supervisor of mine says, don't say no to opportunities. He goes, and some of them are going to be crappy, trust me.
Hmm.
But you're going to learn from them. And
Yeah.
I've always been like that. And I hate it because some of them were like one of those like, hey, I'm supposed to be on leave next week, but my boss
Yeah.
come in on a Wednesday. Can you make it happen? And I'm like, dude, how am I going to tell my wife this one, right? And it makes you grow, right? You still have to have that communication and stuff, and it's just something that's cool. And I can appreciate too that your book it's like modest as far as like probably what you've seen in combat operations, and I can relate it to like when Admiral McCraven spoke at UT. If anybody
Hmm.
hasn't seen that one, that's a great one to kind of because the what he speaks about is like totally not what you would expect a Navy SEAL to talk about, but
Right.
did it, he crushed it. Is yours recorded, by the way? The USC when you go talk, do they record those at all?
They did one, so I can post it on. I have the link to it. I'll have to figure out how to upload it, but yeah,
Uh,
I can make it.
love
I
to
can
see
make it available for sure.
Yeah, we'd love to see it. Heck yeah. Robbie, you got one.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Perfect. First of all, thank you so much for doing this. It's an absolute pleasure to meet you. I
great
just
value.
bought your book like 5 minutes ago. I'm really excited to get into that. I'm actually in the process of applying to your company, and
Oh, okay.
yeah, and I was just curious, like from your perspective, what's it, I guess, like working there? Like, how's the culture? How's, the leadership? Is it, I'm assuming it's a company that you would recommend.
Oh, yeah, I love working there. It's great. Um, it's like there's so many opportunities in energy that one they don't advertise, but they have to be able to do everything.
Mhm.
And you just didn't think that is what an energy company would provide, but they have. I mean, basically, they're a big tech company now, and they have a ton of tech infrastructure. If you want to do investigations, you can investigate um, things. We have my insider threat program. You can do that if you want to. I mean, there's any opportunity that you want to pursue, it's available. So what I want you to do is do me a favor, figure out what you want to do at Dominion, and then reach out to me. And then once you decide who and where you want to work, then I'll talk to that hiring manager for you.
Okay,
Because I've been
awesome.
there almost 5 years. So the hardest thing is to get into energy, but once you're there, um, you're such a valuable asset, not only um, at Dominion, every state has energy, every single one. So if you have the skill set to thrive in energy, then I mean you're incredibly valuable. So let me know what you need, and then we'll get you set up to the right person so you can get into the field you want. Exactly what exactly you want to do at Dominion?
So I'm trying to get into cybersecurity. So I
Okay.
found the information security analyst position.
Yep.
So I'll probably start there and just kind of see what happens.
Okay. I'm great friends with I work with those guys hand in hand. So I
Okay.
think you're probably going to talk with a guy named Mark Shalowitz.
Okay.
Because I think they have 5 positions open. So yeah, just let me know and I will send me your name and stuff on LinkedIn after this.
Okay.
So when I talk to Mark tomorrow, I can say, here's who I talked to. You're going to see his resume come up. So just give it a second look.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, too easy.
Thanks, Robbie. No, so that's my next question before we kind of leave you. I know we're kind of coming up on the hour. Do you mind if I share your LinkedIn to everybody?
Yeah, please. Absolutely.
No, I think, man, everything I could talk to you for probably another 2 hours and kind of get you everything. Unfortunately, we don't have it, but I love the motto here at the end. It says, "Fight on and long live the brotherhood." What's that reference to? Is that like the SEAL Brotherhood? What is that like?
So the SEAL Brotherhood, yes, that's the SEAL part of it. But the USC cult is their motto is fight on. And they give the little double victory for is their kind of their motto. But the cool thing about USC's cult and network, their motto is you're if you graduated from USC, you're always going to have a job. It may not be the job you want, but we're going to make sure that you're employed. And because that network is so vast, there was a girl who I had no idea who she was. She reached out to me and she said, "Hey, I know you don't know me, but I graduated from USC." The conversation was over at that point. I was going to help. And so she was looking for a very unique position. And I just happened to reconnect with a buddy of mine who had his own company. So I said, "Hey, we're gonna make sure you're taken care of." I reached out to my friend and said, "Somebody reached out to me and they need a job. Do you happen to have a position?" And no shit, he said, "Funny you should ask. I'm looking for somebody right now." So I connected them. He hired her. She's from India and she needed to get in a position to where she could earn a green card or an, a visa. And she's thriving right now. And it's just based on, "Hey, you don't know me, but I went to USC." And I was like, "I'll stop. We're going to stop I'm going to stop whatever I'm doing, and we're going to make sure you're taken care of." And that's just what you do as an alum of USC.
That's awesome. No, man, I appreciate this conversation, yeah, with us. And like, yeah, I love hearing what you talk about and like how you're able to explain things. And you can tell there's a lot of emotion behind it, but you keep it in a way that it's easy to understand and deliver. So man, I can appreciate that. And I want to end on, at least for me, my portion before I pass the mic to you for your ending, is one of the biggest things that resonated with me throughout all of this, because a lot of it has, almost all of it, is you said, "I loved being an instructor, sniper instructor, because you get
Hmm.
the transformation or you get to see their growth." uh,
Yeah.
Speaks to your character. And for me as an instructor, you never, yeah, I've had some cool experiences in the military. Yeah, cool. Jumped out of airplanes, rode helicopters, all this stuff, right? But then I go back and someone asked me the other day, "What was your best assignment out of all that?" And I said, "Well, it was when I was teaching at the tech school
Hmm.
for 6 months, seeing these guys that show up and they were scared. So a lot of them were scared. And the first time you put them out in the snow and you say, 'Hey, you're going to build your own shelter and you're going to stay out here. I'm going to show you how to do it.' But when you fast forward 6 months to where they get to wear their beret, it is that's a totally different person." And I told them, "Man,
Yeah.
that was my best time in my career for 4 years."
Yeah. Just to watch that transformation and the light switch comes on and they get it. And then
Yeah.
they're going to use their attributes to thrive. And I'm just like, that's such an awesome feeling. And I got to do that for 4 iterations before I went to officer candidate school. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was my favorite.
Nice. Any last things for us before we let you go?
Now, if you just now that we're all connected, if you need any help, just let me know. And I'm not part of your network, so I'm happy to help. Be it I just if I have all this knowledge and experience and I don't help and put it out there, then I'm doing everybody a disservice. So if there's anybody who's was in the chat today or um, here today, just reach out if you need anything, and I will do my best to either answer your questions or connect you to who you need to get connected to for what's next for you.
Man, it's awesome. We appreciate everything, Mark, and we'll hopefully, I'm pretty sure we'll see you in the future if you can spare some time for us again here at the academy here.
Yeah,
So
yeah, just send me an invite and we'll figure out a way to make it work.
awesome. Well, have a good night. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks everyone. Take care.
Man, if you're not motivated after that, I don't know. I don't know what else we can do here at Seven Eagle. Yeah, let me